exciting edition of Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television. This weekend promises to be a very thrilling weekend in sports as Toby Amusa pulls out of the African Senior Championship. Coming in from the world of tennis, British stars suffer setback at the Queen's Championship. In football, African Cup of Nations have now a new date. This and many more will be yours when we return from the break. It's Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television. Weekend edition, no doubt about it. And this weekend I have with me Kingsley Manuel.
Very happy to be here this weekend, Mr. Siri.
Well, what a busy weekend in the world of sports from athletics, especially here in Nigeria, where we've had trials ahead of the Olympic Games. The Olympic Games is just a few weeks away from now in Paris. But the athletes that will feature at this biggest sports festival are preparing themselves. Some, even though all of them have that are qualified for the championship, are using one trials or the other to shape up for the Olympic Games. And here in Nigeria, all the qualifiers for the Olympic Games for Team Nigeria have been brought back to participate in a sporting trial here in Nigeria. And of course, this weekend, they are all headed for Cameroon for the African Senior Athletics Championship. We had the likes of Toby Amusa in Nigeria participating. Of course, she did distinguish herself at the national trials. But ahead of the appearances in Cameroon at the Senior African Championship, no doubt about it, Toby Amusa, world record holder, is one of the senior athletes in Africa. But she has just pulled out of the competition this weekend. Kingsley, this is good news for the other athletes and maybe bad news for Team Nigeria, or the fact that she's having to, plan her schedule ahead of the biggest one, which is the Olympic Games.
We understand the fact that, she has to pull out due to illness, down there in Cameroon. She actually traveled with the team, to participate, but, getting down to Cameroon just to get, to her event, she actually, took aim, and that's why she decided, to opt out, from this particular one. For me, I think it's actually a blessing in disguise. It's a good one if you ask me, because Toby has already qualified for the Olympic Games, and I think for me this will not even affect her if she doesn't participate in this African Championship. So for me, I think it's just for her to go back, and say how she can put herself in shape ahead of the Paris Olympic Games. She already secured the ticket, so there will be no consequences, for her opting out, from this one due to illness. So for me, I think it's a good one. As we give the other athletes, I think that opportunity to be able to see how to gather, to build up momentum, and as well looking forward to win something for themselves in this particular one. And for me, I think for Toby, it's not a bad one. I think she should just go back and see how to put herself in shape ahead of for the Olympic Games.
Toby, I'm also looking at her body. After all, even world record holders get sick. That's what it means here. But she will definitely bounce back. The team is already at the Senior African Championship in Douala, Cameroon. And Team Nigeria is already making an impact. Kingsley, this weekend we've seen them win medal in shot put and in the women's discus. How did it go, especially the women's discus, where we hear Nigeria had a clean sweep with Ashley Anuba taking goal ahead of Biagiri Amici and Choma Onyekwere with the bronze medal each.
It was a very impressive outing for the ladies in the discus throw event for Team Nigeria. From 4th to 3rd position, they actually clinched those spots, and for Anumba was, a very impressive one, for her in this particular one. She actually took up gold ahead of Obiagiri Oyemichi and Choma Onyekwere who has actually shown more progress so far, of course, when it has to do with discus throw down here in Nigeria. We saw at the national trials, talked about Choma Onyekure. She actually put up a very impressive performance, but it came as a surprise to me that she came, third, and seeing Onumba coming up, first in this one actually was just a surprise for me. Onumba came up with 50 points, 30 meters, in this one, and in her final attempts in improving on her 59.11 meters, and I think for me that's a very good one for her. If she can continue with this pace, I think definitely she'll be heading down to the Olympics, to do something great. But for me, I think it was a very impressive outing for the ladies when it has to do with the discus throw from the first to the second and the third position.
Interesting development out there at the Senior African Championship in Douala, Cameroon. African Games champion Obiageri Amechi claiming silver by the distance of 58.8 meters in the discus throw, and defending champion Choma Onyekure settling for bronze with a throw of 57.96 meters. Don't forget the African indoor record holder and of course 5-time African champion in the men's shot put, Chukwuebuka Enekwechi, made it a hat-trick of crowns at the African Senior Championship after extending his dominance at the continent to 6 years, taking the very first gold medal of the year 2024 at the African Championship in Douala, Cameroon. Enekwechi continued to show that when it comes to his feat here in Africa, even on the continent, he is no doubt a gold medalist.
Of course, it's been an impressive one for him, putting up, consistency in this particular championship.
6 years of consistency.
6 years of consistency, I tell you. It's a very huge, feat, for the man. I was seeing him represent the country in so many championships. I was seeing him represent the country at the World Athletics Championship, the Commonwealth Games, even at the last Olympic as well. And at the continent, at the African Championship as well, he's also putting up that high level of dominance. I think we should give it up to the man. In fact, he was even the first person that won gold, for Team Nigeria in this particular edition of the championship down there in Douala. He's the person that gave Nigeria the first gold medal in this edition. I think for me, it's been an impressive ride for Chukwuebuka Enekwechi. We have to give him his flowers. The man has done a whole lot, when it has to do with shot put. I think for me, he's number one now when it has to do with shot put events, for Team Nigeria. We've never seen anyone come so close when you talk about the record and what he has been able to set so far. So for me, I think it's been a brilliant, one huge high level of consistency for the man. And we hope, of course, he will take this level of performance down to the Olympic Games and be able to showcase what he had. The last time we saw him in the Olympic, wasn't really that a poor performance. We understand how disorganized Team Nigeria were. But at this point in time, I think, adequate preparation has been given to the team. And for this Enekwechi is doing, I think, a lot to expect come the Olympic Games.
A lot to expect come the Olympic Games. And this weekend, still other activities at the Senior African Championship. What do we expect from the Nigerians, especially at the, on the race course?
Yes, of course. We should be expecting something huge, especially the 4x100 meters, relay team. They've not actually qualified, and they'll be seeking qualification, in this particular one at this point in time. We understand the fact that the likes of Esther Joseph, the likes of Ima Bonsoko, Patient Okon George, of course, they are in that mix to make sure that Team Nigeria secure qualification in the 4x100 meters relay race. And I tell you, that is the most important event for Team Nigeria this weekend. If we can get that one done and dusted, at least we'll be able to go very far. We've seen the team qualify in the 100 meters. We talk about the 200 meters as well, and the rest of for the event. But this is one of the events that Team Nigeria has to qualify. I'm looking forward to see Esther Joseph, Ima Bonsoko, and Patient Okon George, of course, doing the needful this weekend.
Yorishe is in the 100 meters event.
Yes, of course, he's in the 100 meters event, and from what we've seen so far, I think we'll also look forward to see what comes up,
Favor of Philly as well.
Favor of Philly, and a lot, of course, to expect, from them, and we'll just hope for the best. We saw an impressive outing at the national trials down here in Nigeria. We hope they can also go down there and replicate the same performance.
Nigerians at the Senior African Championship ongoing in Douala, Cameroon. It runs till the 28th of this month, and so we look forward to giving you updates on the events on a daily basis. But for now, be rest assured there have been a hat-trick of medals for Nigeria at the Senior African Championship ongoing in Cameroon without the biggest of African athletes, and talking about Tobi Amuso pulling up owing to ill health, but we're sure Tobi Amuso will be back very soon, and of course ready for for the biggest sporting festival around the world, which is the Olympic Games coming up in the next few weeks. Toby Amuso, we understand now has a new nickname, Toby Express.
Definitely. Toby Express said she's fondly called in at this point in time, and that was actually being given to her due to her speed. You know, she has a very high speed as well, you know, on on the track, especially in the 100 meters, you know, events. 100 meters for these events, she's always been very, very fantastic. So it's always very difficult, you know, for you to get close to her whenever she's on, you know, the track, and that's why they've given her that name, you know, Toby Express. We hope to see, you know, her going to the Olympics and, you know, proving herself this time. Everyone is saying that, you know, she has never won a gold medal at the Olympics, and this time is a moment where she has to prove herself. A lot of pressure on her because of a lot of critics, you know, saying that she can't be able to do that in the Olympic Games. That's going to be very tough. But I think Toby will have to prove her doubters wrong this time by going down to the Olympics and put up a very huge challenge. We've seen an impressive outing from her so far. Talk about the World Athletics Championship 2 years ago, the Commonwealth Games, and now she's coming down to the Olympic Games after putting up huge level of dominance in several Diamond League events. And I think for me, this is the time that Toby has to prove a point to our critics.
World record holder Toby Amuso will have to show it at the World Championship. She has to show it as well at the Olympic Games, and I think she has the quality to be on the podium at the biggest sporting festival around the world, which is the Olympic Games coming up in Paris in just a few weeks from now. Enough of the African Senior Championship this weekend. Like we told you, it runs till 28th. We'll keep you updated, you know, on a daily basis on that. But for now, let's look at tennis, and the biggest tennis event coming up in just about a few days from now is the Wimbledon. It is the third Grand Slam of the year. But athletes, the tennis players prepare just before, you know, on the same grass surface at the Queen's Championship. How has it been so far, especially for British athletes?
Well, British athletes, I tell you, it's been a little bit of a struggle for them, especially Andy Murray. We understand that he actually sustained a back injury at the Queen's, you know, Open, and it's been very difficult for him. I think he has some couple of days just to get himself, you know, in shape ahead of for the Queen's Open. And don't forget, this is actually might probably be his last, you know, Wimbledon tournament that's going to play, and the man is taking him time, of course, to get, you know, ready for this particular one. Just we heard that he will be undergoing, you know, a back procedure just to make sure he keep himself, you know, in shape.
9 days before the Wimbledon?
9 days before the Wimbledon. I will pray, of course, that he definitely get to recover, you know, before the Wimbledon, you know, kickstarting at this point in time. But I tell you, it might have a way of actually disturbing the man, you know, getting into this one. But we'll hope for the best for him, looking at the fact that this might probably be his last Wimbledon tournament. It might be a difficult one for him, but let's see how far, of course, the healing will take place.
Well, it's the Wimbledon that is the biggest one, but what I say, it's just a few days, and we have the Queen's Championship. It looks like the British will always struggle now. With after Andy Murray, we've not seen any other big British star, you know, win the Queen's Championship. Not to talk of the Wimbledon.
Yes, it's actually a very difficult one for the British players, even the male and the female players. Still talking about injury as well for one of the British players. I understand that Danny Evans, you know, had to, you know, go for a scan because of his knee injury as well, following his fall during the Queen's Open. We understand that the Queen's Open court we heard was very, very slippery, and most of the athletes, most of the players, you know, couldn't actually stand their feet very well on the court, you know, to play. Danny Evans has to fall and then sustain a knee injury, and now he's also undergone scan as well ahead of the Wimbledon. So it's been a very tough time for the British player. The number one British player at the moment, Jack Draper, was defeated by Tommy Paul as well. So I think there's a lot, you know, for the British players to do to make sure that, you know, they gain back their position. You talk about the female category as well. Their very best, Emma Raducanu, she's not in a very good shape as well. And going down to the Wimbledon, she was even given a white card just to participate as well at the Wimbledon. So for me, not a very good moment for the British players, but we hope in the coming days or coming years or season, they'll definitely bounce back. The
last time we saw a British player win on the grass in the Wimbledon was, I think, about 10 years ago, and of course that player was Andy Murray, and since then we've not seen any British player, you know, get at the event, and I'm very sure the the Wimbledon coming up in just about a few days from now will not, the fans definitely will not be happy about it. But it's the Wimbledon. You will definitely see a lot of fans, throwing up at the courts there. We don't have a shortage of fans when it comes to the Wimbledon.
Of course, and I think the English, fans, they're always, trooping to make sure that they grace the event and make sure that it actually look very, very awesome. I think there will not be shortage of fans, especially when you take a look at the star players that will be coming in down to the Wimbledon. The likes of Naomi Osaka will be coming in after staying away from the game for at least like 2 seasons now due to the fact that she has to give birth, to her child. The likes of Carly Wisnaki, of course, will be back. Angelique Kerber also will be back in this one. These players, they've all been given white card to participate. Emma Raducanu also was also given white card, will also be there, and we expect the likes of Iga Swiatek, Arina Sabalenka, Coco Gauff as well to prove a point. So these are players that have huge number of fan base, and I tell you, they'll be able to drag the attention of the fans down to the Wimbledon court, and a lot, of course, to be expected. And for the male, Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, Novak Djokovic, you talk about Andy Murray as well, and the rest of the top players. I think these are players that will possibly draw the attention of the fans, and I tell you, it promises to be an exciting one in this coming Wimbledon, looking at how far the organizers they've prepared, and as well as the players going into this particular one.
There will be a new world number one at the Wimbledon, for the male category. For the female, of course, the unstoppable Iga Swiatek will be there as well. Can Carlos Alcaraz make a statement at the Wimbledon?
It's a big question, a very big question at this point in time. We saw what he did at the French Open, and then coming down to the Queen's Open, he was actually being ousted out by the British #1 male player, talking about Jack Draper. And we didn't actually, I didn't see that coming at all. I thought Alcaraz was going to get past him with ease, but the man actually downed him on that day. But we hope he'll be able to bounce back from that defeat and get himself more strengthened heading down to the Wimbledon. This is an opportunity and a moment where he has to prove himself. It's not going to be an easy task, though. We understand Djokovic will be fighting, Jannik Sinner will be fighting, the man Alcaraz as well will also be fighting. So it will be a very difficult task for him. But if he can actually put up that impressive performance just like we saw at the French Open, I tell you, he can go all the way to the final, and getting all the way to the final, he stands a chance of reclaiming that world #1 spot. Talking about the man Carlos Alcaraz.
Carlos Alcaraz fighting to want to see what I can get at the world #1 spot, right? Of course, the man from Italy right now, Jannik Sinner, is looking very tough. It's not only the male that are preparing for Wimbledon, the females are too. Elena Rybakina, remember her? She's had to retire at the Berlin Open. Is this good news for Elena Rybakina?
Not a very good news, for her, and we understand that this is not a very serious injury. She was actually ill.
Just illness?
Yes, illness, and that's why she has to opt out from that one. So I think a little bit of medication will actually bring her back, to her very best of health heading down to the Olympic game. Elena Rybakina, I think she's one lady that everyone will be looking forward to compete and see how maybe she can contend with the likes of Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, the likes of Arina Sabalenka, and the rest of them. We'll just hope that
Jessica Pegula, she's a former Grand Slam winner. She has to make a statement as well.
Yeah, Jessica Pegula, the American, will hope that she'll be able to bounce back, but she has not been consistent for a couple of games now, and we'll hope maybe this might possibly be a means of motivation, looking at the fact that she might also stand a chance of getting something. The Grand Slam is always very huge. At 2,000 points is always very huge whenever you're able to get it, and I think for me it means a lot for her. I think she'll probably will try to go all the way to see how she can secure something for herself, but it's going to be an intense encounter talking about this Wimbledon, because Jessica Pegula will here, she'll be there. Elena Rybakina, I understand before the Wimbledon kickstart, she'll be able to, of course, recover. The likes of Iga Swiatek, Arina Sabalenka, On Shobu as well. These are players that are very, very hungry, to get something in this particular Wimbledon. And I think for me, if Jessica Pegula had to be, at the top, she has to be on her A game. We'll see her drop, from the ranking from world #3, she has dropped, I think, down to the world #5. Not a very good performance for Jessica Pegula. So if she has to contend very well, it means she has to fight, to the very end of this one.
Well, that is the much we can take from the world of tennis. And of course, we earlier told you about how Nigerians, Toby and Musa, Toby Express, pulled out of the African Championship due to illness. But with a couple of medals raked in already at the biennial championship ongoing in Douala, Cameroon. Time for us now to take a focus on football, and football is this weekend is taking the feverish pitch across here in Nigeria, because it's the last weekend of football for the year 2023-2024 football season in Premier League, and teams that will be relegated are beginning to have fever, I must tell you. And for those who want to go to the continent, there's a jostling for position. It is no longer news. Rangers International has won the league for this year, but they are one of the other three more expected to qualify for the continent as well. Rangers, no doubt, will be going to play in the CAF Champions League, having come first. But first, we have to look at the positioning on the table before we look at fixtures this weekend. Kingsley, like I mentioned, Rangers are top on the table this week and this weekend, the final day fixtures. No matter what happens in their last game, they will no doubt continue to be champions for the just concluded or to be concluded season. Like I mentioned, it's the last day of the season. But now on the table, we have Rangers International first, Remo is next, and of course there is Enyimba International third, and Shooting Stars of Ibadan in the fourth place position. Do you think there could be rubble in the sequence from the second, third, and fourth there?
Yes, I think you take a look at it, it's very dicey. Apart from Enugu Rangers that have actually qualified, they won the league just like you mentioned down there. For the likes of Eyimba, and for the likes of Shooting Stars, for the likes of Plateau United, there might be a rumble this weekend if taking a look at what will be the outcome of the matches they'll be playing. For Eyimba Football Club, they'll be locking arms against Plateau United this weekend. That's going to be a very, very tight encounter as it is. A win for Eyimba, of course, I will see them go down to play in the CAF Confederation Cup. A win for Plateau United as well. We'll also see Plateau United getting a ticket for the continent. So it's a dicey situation, and that's why the chairman of Eyimba Football Club, Kanu Anko, has actually thrown the gates open for the fans to come cheer the team up, because this is a must win for Eyimba. If they don't win, it means their chance of going to the continent this season, of course, will be off, and we'll see Plateau United getting down to the continent at this point in time. And for the likes of Shooting Stars, they also stand a chance. Shooting Stars are fourth, on the log. They will be locking horns against Sporting Lagos that are actually on the relegation zone this weekend. So if Shooting Stars gets a win against Sporting Lagos, they also stand a chance of making it to the continent. And if Sporting Lagos lose, they might be relegated this weekend as well. So consequences all around in Nigerian Premier Football League on the final match day as it stands. So we'll just look forward to see who will join the likes of Enugu Rangers, Remo Stars to the continent. It might be Eyimba, it might be Plateau United.
Remo Stars is playing at home against Katsina United. This looks like a win for Remo Stars to cement their second place position. Yeah,
it looks like a win for them, and I think for me they have all what it takes. Playing at home will give them that more advantage. I think for Remo Stars, they've done their best this season. They actually tried to win the league, but I think the brilliance of Ledi Selechuku and his men actually was something very huge that they couldn't actually contend with them at this point in time. So for me, I think they have what it takes to beat Katsina United this weekend. I will just look forward to see the best of football from them. I think for me, we should give it up to them. In the past two seasons for Remo Stars, they've been very, very consistent, and we should, of course, maybe look forward to see them challenging for the title once again come next season. Okay,
let's look at what's at the bottom of the league table now. Which features do you think could trigger an upset within the four teams will be relegated at the end of the season? And which are the teams? We are sure that Harland FC is relegated, and we are sure too that Gombe United is relegated. Which are the other two teams that are most likely to be relegated at the end of 90 minutes this weekend?
We have three teams that, of course, might be relegated. Any of them might be relegated this weekend. One is Akwa United. They are seated 16 on the log with 46 points. Second,
I'm talking about Akwa United this weekend. They have Rivers United to contend with. They are neighbors. Do you think there could be compromise in this fixture? Rivers and United do not have anything at stake. They are not going on relegation. Neither are they going to the continent.
Rivers United are 8 on the log now. And Akwa United,
they don't have any chance of going to the continent.
No chance of going to the continent.
Right.
They have no chance of going to the continent. They were also there from the Federation Cup, and now in the League Cup, they're not, anywhere close to the continental position. They're 8th on the log, as it is. But for Aqua United, it's a very dicey situation for them. But Rivers United want to compromise to actually help Aqua United, survive relegation this time around. I think for me, I don't know what is going to happen between both teams on that day, but we'll just look forward to see what will happen. If Aqua United need a win to survive relegation this weekend, or else they might be relegated. And it should be very, very disappointed to see a team like Aqua United being relegated in the Nigerian Premier Football League. A team that have won the title before, they've actually gotten much pedigree when it has to do with playing in the top flight league. And for me, if they have been relegated, it will be so disappointing. When you take a look at the level of support being given by the state government down to the team, and at the end of the day, they have been relegated, it will be a very disappointing one. But I think they have to play all what they can, or all what they know, to make sure that they get that 3 needed points against Rivers United, or else they might be relegated this weekend.
Aqua United just slightly above, but just by 1 point. In fact, Sporting Lagos has the same number of points, and base 46, and Aqua United has 46 bets. They are better in terms of goal difference. So any slip in the match against Rivers United could see, and a win for Sporting Lagos.
Yeah.
Could see Sporting Lagos being replaced by Aqua United in the relegation battle, and I'm sure the handlers of Aqua United must know this ahead of the encounter this weekend. Let's look at the other team that could be relegated this weekend. We'll talk about Sporting Lagos. Doma United, who are they playing this weekend, and what are the chances of getting 3 points and maybe escaping relegation?
I think for me, Doma United, they have a very, very, tough one this weekend, as it is. And for what we've seen so far, it's going to be a very dicey one. We understand they'll be playing against Abia Warriors this weekend. And for me, I think is a tough encounter. I understand that Abia Warriors, they are not playing to qualify for the continents in the league. We understand they're in the finals of the FA Cup.
Yes.
But in the league, they're not in that position to qualify for the continental position. But for Doma United,
Doma is played at home in Gombe.
Yeah, they need a win. And even though they get a win, they should also pray that Aqua United and Sporting Lagos should not get a win, because if they do, their chance of surviving relegation will be very, very slim. We take a look at the goal difference as well. If Aqua United, and Sporting Lagos even draw their games, Doma United will need about 15 goals. You take a look at their goal difference now on the log. We need about 15 goals to be able to pull through, from relegation. So it's a very, very dicey situation for Doma United at this point in time. If they have won their game against Sunshine Stars, the one outstanding game they had, if they have won that game, it would have been an easy one for them. But losing that game against Sunshine Stars has now put them in a very, very difficult situation.
Doma United will need to win, and pray that Aqua United lose.
Yes.
And not just Aqua United losing, they will have to, the Sporting Lagos as well lose. So they need to do their own part of the job, and they pray that results at 2 other centers will favor them. And that to me looks like a mountain too high to climb.
Tall one. Very tall mountain for Doma United. And I think for me, it's been an abysmal season for them. When the league started, we saw them, of course, contending for the title. Doma United, even Sporting Lagos, contending for the title. But all of a sudden, we saw them drop now, and they are now fighting to survive relegation. And for me, it's a very, very disappointing one for the two privately owned teams, talking about Sporting Lagos and Doma United. We'll just hope for the best for them this weekend and see if they can be able to bounce back from relegation. Which
other team looks threatened at the bottom log of the table?
I think for me, no other team down there. I think Bayelsa United, they've actually survived that relegation zone.
They have a crucial tie this weekend against Insurance of Benin. Insurance of Benin do not have a chance of playing at the continent. You think they will just do them a favor, making them very safe or cocksure
I think
escaping relegation?
I think they might. And for Bayelsa United, I think they've actually tried their best, of course, to be able to stay strong a bit, on the log. And I think for me, they have a very, very good position. They are in a very good position.
They need all the points because there's a lot of rumble. It's just 1 point is separating them from the teams struggling relegation. So 1 point safety. So they need an additional at least 3 points to survive. So so that they don't have to start looking at what is happening at the other centers. Just about the center. All the matches will be played at the same time this weekend.
Let's just see how it goes for Bayelsa United. I think they've done their best. They've tried this season to see how they can stay afloat. And I think for me, with this Bender Insurance, this is a game of no consequences for them apart from Bayelsa United that has a lot to do with the points in this one. I will hope that maybe there might be a soft one down there where Bayelsa United will be able to go, but this is a game of football, and I think Bender Insurance will want to make sure they put up whatever they can just to make sure they get victory on the final match day this season. We understand that Bender Insurance as well, they are one side that everyone actually had a lot of expectation from them when they came from the NNL. A lot of expectation from the team that they are going to challenge for the title, but for the past 2 seasons now, Bender Insurance have not really proven that point or has not met the expectation from people. We understand that the chairman of the side was actually, I think it was impeached. The Bender Insurance, the deputy governor of Edo State was actually impeached. He was the one supporting them, but at some point he was actually impeached, and I think that level of support actually dropped, and that's why we're seeing a little bit of this one for Bender Insurance. But we hope this weekend they'll possibly pave the way for Bayelsa United to skate through.
Well, that is it. We know now that Gombe United are already relegated. Heartland FC of Owerri already relegated. Sporting and Doma looks like the teams that will be relegated. 4 teams, like we told you, are sure to be relegated at the end of the season, and it has to be this weekend. But who says football sometimes could be very, very unpredictable. It would, for me, it would be a miracle if Doma and Sporting Lagos escape relegation. It means that Aqua United and the insurance will have to post very terrible results, and that will not be too good in their interest. For Aqua United, they are playing at home, so it looks an advantage. Yeah. For Bayelsa United, they are playing away, but they are playing against a team that do not have anything at stake as well. So it looks almost like the way the table is this weekend, it will just end like that, especially for the teams that are to be relegated.
Yes, and let's just see how it goes. Anything can happen. We shouldn't just take it the way it is. Anything can happen, and we'll just see how the teams will be able to play, to see how to change the narrative. The way it is on the table, as it is. We just hope for the best. It will be disappointing for especially Sporting Lagos. They just came from the Nigerian National League, came and actually played. They were like a house and playing like a team that wanted to win the league. All of a sudden they've dropped, and going back to the NNL will be very, very disappointing for them. Same thing with Doma United. We understand how they've struggled. The management of the team has struggled, to make sure they sponsor the team. Privately owned team in the Nigerian Premier Football League. We understand how they actually struggle. We just hope that these privately owned teams will be able to stay afloat and see how they can continue to pursue their course in the league.
Well, the Nigerian Premier League comes to an end this weekend with Rangers International already taking home the trophy for the season. We are looking at teams that will be relegated alongside Gombe United and Heartland FC of Owerri. 2 more teams to be relegated. That will be decided this weekend as well. We'll say congratulations to Rangers International. And for us now, we have to take a break. When we return for a break, there's more exciting football stories this weekend. The African Cup of Nations has had a shift of dates. The same thing for the Women African Cup of Nations. There are new dates now for this competition that will be taking place in Morocco, of course, in the next couple of months from now. Across in Europe, it is getting more interesting. Cristiano Ronaldo continues to make records, same as Lionel Messi at the Copa America that is heating up as well across South America. It is football season. I'm telling you, a lot is happening. We'll keep you abreast with this and many more when we return from the break. What an exciting football weekend we have here. Sports Extraordinary Weekend Edition here on Atlantic Television Network. Kingsley Emmanuel with me will bring you up to the latest happening around the world of sports, especially this weekend. And we told you how Tobi Amusu has pulled out of the Senior African Championship and how it is getting more difficult for some tennis players to be ready for the Wimbledon owing to injury and, of course, loss of form. But ahead of the Wimbledon, it will be Yannick Sinner as the world #1 and Iga Swiatek as the world #1 in the female category as well. But Carlos Alcaraz has a chance of upsetting that ranking order if he goes ahead to win the Wimbledon Championship. Ahead of that, we've told you about how this is the weekend where football, Premier League football, has to come to an end for the season here in Nigeria. And Rangers International has already won with a weekend left to play. But the just positions for those teams that were relegated is on focus this weekend. We are sure that Harland SC and Gombe are already relegated. But we'll, do I say Sporting Lagos, and which is the other team, Kingsley?
Sporting Lagos, Aqua United.
And Aqua United, will they be joining them as for the relegation at Sporting Lagos? And there's one other team I can't really pick up now.
Bayelsa United.
No, Bayelsa United. We have Doma United. Doma United is another team that could be relegated this weekend. Doma, of course, are from Gombe State. But now, let's look at the other focus on football for this weekend is the African Cup of Nations. We've had the Nations Cup affected by COVID, if you remember. But having concluded the last edition, out there in Cote d'Ivoire, where the Super Eagles of Nigeria came second, we know that the next edition of the competition was supposed to take place in Morocco on a date that looked like a summer period, of course, a period of June. But that will no longer hold because we now understand that next year, June, July, or thereabout, when the Nations Cup was supposed to take place, it will no longer hold. It has been now moved to December and running till 18th of January 2026. Kingsley, what could be responsible for this shift of date?
For me, I think if you take a look at it, at the end of the day, it was as a result of, for me, there are some the qualifiers is still very on, at the moment. The 2025 AFCON is still very on. And for the fact that, of course, Morocco, we are also putting themselves, in shape to make sure that, they get themselves prepared to hold this one. I understand they've done a whole lot. There are a lot of stadiums down there in Morocco to host this one. So that's not really a problem at this point in time. But for the fact that there are some couple of qualifiers still on ground, I think they have to shift this one. But for me, it's not really a favorable date.
No, talking about reasons why we've had this Nations Cup move from July to December for the African Cup Nations Cup, that's males competition. For the female, we equally have it moved from July now. It's now moved to June. Play in that competition, and because of that, most of the players that are supposed to be part of the AFCON will be taking part in this competition that will be taking place in the United States of America just about the same time. And of course, there is the expanded UEFA Champions League as well. Everybody knows that most African players play in Europe, and there will be congestion. They can't move within the period because of this. So the international calendar is really tough. First, if they play in July, that will be the middle of the European season, if you remember. Yeah. European season starts in May this year. So if they play in July, that will be, most teams will not want to release their players from the league games that will be on at about that time. Then it's about that same time too that we have the expanded FIFA Club World Cup. And as if that is not enough, there is the expanded UEFA Champions League taking place at about the same time. So I think that's the reason why it's now been moved, from July to December, running till January 2026.
I think for me, probably a good one. When you take a look at expansion of tournaments, FIFA tournaments and all of that, and now it's affecting the African Cup of Nations. I think for me, the African Cup of Nations have really suffered a lot, when it has to do with FIFA tournaments or maybe UEFA tournaments as well, because we understand the fact that even before now, and there are always issues when it has to do with African players, coming down to honor the African Cup of Nations. We always see that most clubs most clubs in Europe do not want to release their players and all of that. And even see now, it's still happening. Whenever a UEFA competition, a FIFA competition has been, altered, it always affects the African Cup of Nations. I think for me, CAF should look into this and see how Africa can maintain their own dignity and put up their own stand, to make sure that this competition is not being tossed to and fro, whichever way, by FIFA or by UEFA competitions, as it is. It's a good one. But talking about the competition being hosted in December, this is a period where so many persons will be in celebration mode. Would there be much attention for the African Cup of Nations? Probably, maybe, because I think that will be holiday. Most persons, of course, will be on holiday that period, and I think the African Cup of Nations will be something that they want to, of course, use to relieve the stress, for the year. So I think for me, we just hope that the shift in dates will not affect any of the arrangements, will not affect as well people that will actually want to maybe watch the African Cup of Nations at the end of the day. And we'll just hope that we have a successful tournament down there in Morocco. We understand that they are very much ready for this one. There's top-notch, facilities when it has to do with stadiums. And for me, Morocco hosting this one will be a very huge one. And also, it's going to give so many persons that opportunity of going down to Morocco and see what they've been able to. We understand a very huge level of development, especially in football over time. And I think this is the time to go see what is happening down there in Morocco.
Morocco is the place to be. Both the African Cup of Nations for men and female will be taking place in Morocco. But now, if you're having to book a flight or prepare to be part of the competition, do know that for the male, the AFCON will be taking place in December 2025, running to January 2026. And of course, those who have already booked their flight for July this year for the Women African Cup of Nations, sorry, you have to reschedule your flight because now the competition will be taking place July 2026. Crowded schedule has been cited as the reason why we're having several of these postponements. So that is it. I think that's the much we can take on African soccer for this weekend. Let's quickly see where we can go from here. The Euro Championship is very tight, ongoing, in 10 cities across Germany, and we're having some interesting results. It looks like Poland right now, Kingsley, is the only team with one game to spare that has already booked their flight back home from Germany.
Yeah, it really was. It's really been a poor outing for Poland from what we've seen so far. They've played about, I think, 2 games in the competition, and they've not been able to win any. It was so abysmal, for them. We saw Austria, of course, trashing them yesterday, and that was, of course, unlike Poland, where you have a certain striker talking about Robert Lewandowski. It was a very poor outing, of course, for them in this particular one. 2 games played, they've lost the 2 games, and for me, it's not a very good one, for Poland at this point. And I think for me, they will be going home because we take a look at where they are in Group D. They are seated bottom of that group with 0 points, at the end of the day. For me, was a really poor outing for Poland.
Very poor outing for Poland. They will have to play their last game as an academic fixture because they already have been eliminated from the competition. And let's look at the host nation, Germany. They've won 2 games so far. They were the very first to qualify for the second round of the competition. What has made Germany this tick, Kingsley?
For me, I think it's all about, the manager, Julian Nagelsmann, of course, who has been very, very fantastic, of course, when it has to do with tactics. We understand that the players are also very, very, very energetic, very, very instrumental as well to the success we've seen for Germany this time around. The likes of Musiala, we understand, has been very, very fantastic, for them. And I think for me, you take a look at, the way they've actually conducted themselves from the fence down to the midfield and down to the attacking line. That has been what has given Germany, of course, a very good shape to play a little bit of very good football. But I think they still have to watch it because when you take a look at the pattern of football from the Spanish side, and then you talk about, the likes of, I won't want to call England at this moment because they've not really done enough. They won their first game and drew their second one, and I think for me they still have a lot, to do at this point in time. But when you talk about, Spain, I think they have what it is, and Germany, of course, should watch out for them going forward. It's been an impressive ride for them, and I think their last game they'll just want to maybe, go down there and play and then get themselves ready for the round of 16 encounter. Hope for the best for Julian Nagelsmann and his players in this one.
Germany, no doubt, right now are top in their group. We have them being closely followed by Switzerland. Can this remain the order? Scotland is next. But talking about Scotland reminds me that they have the Germans to play in their final game in the group. Scotland versus Germany. Ordinarily, you will give it to Germans, the host nation, to win their third game of the competition. But for Scotland, they need to find a way of getting a point or even winning Germany, to qualify out of the group. In all the history of playing European football, they've played this is their 4th European Championship. They've never qualified from the group. They've even played 8 World Cup competition without qualifying from the group. But now they stand a chance of qualifying from the group if they are able to win their opponents, which are the Germans. The Germans have already qualified. They should not, do the extraordinary in this fixture.
But I think Germany, yes, they play Scotland in the first game. I think the Scotland game should be against Hungary.
Yes, Hungary, I'm sorry.
Yes, Hungary this time around. And I think for me it's going to be very difficult for Scotland. But I feel Hungary, they've been the whipping boys in the group.
Yes.
Yes, and for what it is, I hope that they just get the very best from this particular one and see how far they'll be able to go, or else it might be a very difficult one. I think Hungary might come up with the fact that yes, they've been heavily humiliated in that particular group and see how to stand their ground in this particular one against Scotland. For me, it's not been a very good outing for the Scottish side. We hope that they try as much as can to get the best in this particular encounter against Hungary. But
this weekend promises to be tight in that group because if you look at it, Switzerland versus Germany in the last fixture there, if Switzerland beats Germany, they will come first in the group.
Yes.
And if Germany beats Switzerland or pull a draw, then they will still maintain their position as the top place team in the group. And I'm sure the Germans do not want to lose their first place position.
Yeah, I think so. They don't want to lose that first place position. I want to still see how dogged the Swiss side, they've been. They won their first game, they drew the second, encounter. And I think for me, they will also want to stand their ground against Germany as well this time around. And for me, I think the Germans still have what it takes. When you take a look at the performance of both teams, over time now, what they've been able to do in their last 2 games, I think the German has what it takes, of course, to be able to, outclass them. We just hope that, they'll be able to, of course, try as much as they can to stand their ground in this one. But for me, if you take a look at what Julian Nagelsmann is doing with the German side, I think they can stand their ground against Switzerland.
Cristiano Ronaldo continues to make a hay with his team, Portugal. He has not scored. Yeah. But he has made history by being the only player with the most appearances in European Championships. 6 times. No other player has appeared at 6 European Championships.
Yeah, impressive one for Cristiano Ronaldo at 39 years of age. The man is still looking very fit, of course, very active as well on the pitch of play. We saw him in the last encounter. Of course, he was able to create, some chances, for his team. And as well, he was able to at least be that team leader. He's the captain of the team at the moment. And that team leader, that leadership spirit, of course, we've seen him being able to coordinate the team very well. I will hope for the best for him this time around. Of course, we understand this might possibly be his last, Hero tournament. I will hope that, of course, he'll be able to end well this time.
Well, we just hope that he will end well this time. And just as we have the European Championship ongoing in Europe, there is the Copa America as well ongoing in South America. Kingsley, we saw the opening fixture between Argentina and Canada. 2-0, it ended in favor of Argentina. Lionel Messi didn't score, he was close to scoring, but he made history as the player with the most appearances at the continental showpiece, talking about the Copa America. He's now played 35 games, in the Copa America. It looks like if Cristiano Ronaldo is making his record in Europe, Lionel Messi has to make his record in South America.
So I think for me, it's been a good one. I think we're so privileged, to see both players, in this generation competing favorably in the Heroes and as well the Copa America. We saw them in club football as well. Both players, compete as well in the Spanish La Liga. It's been a very huge rivalry between Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. And I think for me, both players, they're incredible. In fact, they are exceptional. They are so extraordinary whenever you see them on the pitch of play. And we must give it up to them for what they've been able to do, for the fun, for the beautiful pictures, they've been able to give us over time. I think we must give it up to them. They are truly the legends for football this time around. I will hope for the best as well for both of them in the different tournaments.
Very different players from, of course, two continents. The one from Europe and the other one from South America. But both of them compete and, of course, make record, in their different teams and, of course, continents as well. So for this weekend, I think the both of them might just be our sports extraordinaire for the weekend, because you can't take one and leave the other. Cristiano Ronaldo making his 6th appearance at the European Championship. No other player has made as many as 6 appearances, a 6th edition of the European Championship. And of course, Lionel Messi making as many as 35 games at the Copa America. First player to play that number of matches in the Copa America. So the both of them are sports extraordinaire for this weekend. Maybe just one more word for Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, Gisley.
Yeah, but for me, I think the word for them is exceptional, and I would like to use the word, extraordinary. For them, we hope they continue to give us, this beautiful football before, they finally call it a quits.
Extraordinary players indeed. Lionel Messi, extraordinary, and Cristiano Ronaldo, extraordinary. Both of them are sports extraordinaire for this weekend. That will be it. Remember, we'll be back next weekend with yet another exciting edition of Sports Extraordinary. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.